Dante Moore has just announced he is going to be returning to college, and that changes everything for the 2026 NFL Draft. So in today's video, I will be giving you guys an updated 2-round mock draft for the 2026 NFL Draft. Hit the like and subscribe button if you guys are new. Let's hop into it. So as you guys can see, we are on the PFF mock draft simulator, and we are going to begin with the Las Vegas Raiders. This is by far and away the easiest pick of the draft. Fernando Mendoza will be the starting quarterback for the Las Vegas Raiders in 2026. Had a fantastic year. You can see the numbers: 41 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, 3,349 passing yards. I don't think he's a flawless prospect, but I do believe if he came out in last year's draft, he would have been probably the number 2 overall pick right behind Cam Ward. It would have been a really tough battle between those two, but Cam probably has the higher ceiling, so take that as you will. But here is really where we get interesting. Again, Dante Moore returns to college, and for the number 2 overall pick, this pick is now completely up in the air. Now, really quick, I did want to cover Dante Moore and why I think it was the right decision to return to college. For starters, I thought Dante Moore was a worthy first-round pick. Hell, I thought he was a worthy number 2 overall pick, given the circumstances in which the Jets are in. I think Dante has a lot going for him. A really solid arm, can make almost every single throw, processes the game very well. This year, he took a lot of big steps forward, especially his deep ball accuracy looked really sharp. He's got flaws he has to work on, though. Handling pressure, getting more experience under his belt, the short accuracy issues he suffered with this year. Him returning to Oregon, I think, is going to be really good. And that Oregon team is going all in this year to make that team better. And so I really do believe that Oregon team has a great chance of taking a big step forward next year, which could be great for Dante Moore because he should also take a step forward. But with that said, at number 2, that really does change things up for the New York Jets because, again, Dante Moore would have been the pick here. And unfortunately, there's not a quarterback you're taking at the number 2 spot right now. John Mateer just announced he is going back to college, so take him off the board here. Obviously, Ty Simpson is here. You're not taking him at number 2. We'll see what happens with Trinidad Chambliss. I don't think he's a first-round pick either. So that means you're going to be taking probably one of these guys listed right here. I don't think you're going to draft a safety number 2 overall, especially if you can draft a safety a little bit further down the board where there's a number of really good talents in this year's class. So you could take off Caleb Downs off the list. Arvell Reese makes a ton of sense. They could really use an off-ball linebacker with some versatility with his size, his athleticism. They could use him as just a complete weapon in the back end. So I like the idea of Arvell Reese. I think Ruben Bain could make some sense. David Bailey, taking one of these top receivers, also checks out. But I'm going to go ahead and take Arvell Reese. They need a linebacker help bad. They could also use another piece off the edge. Arvell Reese could be a complete difference maker for that defense. All right, number 3, we got the Arizona Cardinals. I am going to go ahead and take a pass rusher here. Again, weak quarterback class, really rough year for Arizona to have a quarterback need, especially with where they end up landing at here at number 3. So unfortunately, the tank job really did not do them wonders in terms of the quarterback position. I'd also would easily consider an offensive lineman here, Spencer Fano or Francis Mauigoa. They could all be the number 3 overall pick. I think Francis is having a really good end to his season with how he's performed these last few weeks versus high-level competition. He's definitely in play here, but I would like to see this team just go best player available, especially because they could always use a bit more pass rush depth. I know they have some options like Darius Robinson, which might make a Ruben Bain Jr. pick a little bit redundant. So I'm going to go with a bit of a different body type. I'll go with David Bailey. You already have Sweat, who's panning out for you as one of the better pass rushers in the league. Give him somebody who could pair up next to him. Arizona's kind of tried multiple edge rushers. I don't think they have a David Bailey on their roster. So let's take David Bailey to pair up with Sweat. And of course, Walter Nolan up the middle. That defensive line should be really, really good next year. All right, number 4, we got the Tennessee Titans. I'll make this one quick. The number 1 thing every team with a young quarterback should do is try to find him a wide receiver 1. The question is, do you take Tyson or Tate? I think Tyson is better, but there are some medical issues that need to be sorted out. Assuming Tyson will be fine and the injury stuff is not a major red flag, I'm going to take Tyson here because I think he's a better fit for what Cam Ward does. But Carnell Tate is really close given the injury issues to Tyson. All right, number 5, I have the New York Giants. I do think Carnell Tate is completely in play here. I've done Caleb Downs in the past, but to be honest with you, I think their safety position has some younger options you feel okay with. They don't need Jeremiah Love. I could definitely see them going with an offensive lineman, and that's kind of, I think, what I'm going to lean towards. You just brought in Harbaugh, which, by the way, Giants fans are going crazy for. We'll see how that ultimately pans out for them. But one thing Harbaugh is going to want to do is make sure his young quarterback is upright. We've seen Harbaugh not really prioritize receiver in the past. I think maybe that could be something that plays into the Giants offseason this year. You already have Neighbors. You already have Slayton. You have Theo Johnson. I'm going to go with the offensive lineman here, and I'm going to go with Francis just because I think right now he offers you a little bit more versatility, whether it's to play guard or tackle. And I also think with the way he's playing in the playoffs right now, it might boost his draft stock to be slightly above Spencer Fano, but I do think it's really close between these two. They're pretty interchangeable. I'll take the flexibility, though, because they could definitely use interior help and tackle help. Having that versatility, especially if you do bring back Illuminor, could make this pick valuable. Number 6, the Browns. Really easy pick here. It's both offensive line and receiver. That has to be plan A and plan B. Let's go ahead and take the best of those options available here in Carnell Tate, Ohio State. Now going to Cleveland. Makes a ton of sense. All right, Washington at number 7. I've done Caleb Downs in the past. I love the idea of Ruben Bain Jr. here. I think both these guys make a ton of sense for this team. Caleb Downs, be kind of the commander in the back of your defense. Pairing with Trey Amos, Mikey Sanders still, and hopefully that defensive line can get a little bit improved. But I think Ruben Bain is really kind of a difference maker up the middle. In this situation for the Commanders, I do think Caleb Downs is a fantastic player, maybe even a little bit better than Bain. But I'm always going to prioritize building on the line of scrimmage and getting bigger, stronger, more physical. Sure, there's some arm limitation questions, but 24% pass rush win rate does not lie. And you've seen him play well talent these past few weeks and completely dominate them. And he has versatility to play in multiple positions for Washington. Can kick him inside, kicking him outside. Get Ruben Bain Jr. here. All right, New Orleans up at number 8. I think interior offensive line is a massive need for this team. I would go receiver, but I just feel like they need a different size option. Mekhi Lemon, really good player. Definitely going to be a top 15, 16 pick in this class. But he doesn't give me the size element. I want to pair up with Chris Olave here. I think my initial lean, honestly, is probably either Peter Woods or Spencer Fano. I know that drafting another offensive lineman would feel like, Jesus, how much more ammunition you're going to put in that room. But you have your tackles, but I don't think you have that interior really figured out. So Fano can potentially kick inside to play guard, or you can kick him at tackle and see who can kick inside to play guard. I like the idea of Banks, Fano, and then moving Fawanga inside. Maybe that could check out. I know linebacker is a potential position of need too. I know that they do have some young guys like Jalen Ford and Danny Stutzman. Are those starters? I don't know. Sonny Styles would be an upgrade. I feel like if I took Peter Woods here, I'd get a lot of flack from New Orleans fans. So I'm not going to take Peter Woods here. Honestly, this is kind of tough. Keldrick Falk can make some sense, but I would like to give them a bit more juice. Keldrick Falk, I think he's a Saints type of guy, but man, he's a work in progress as a pass rusher right now. You could also just go Jeremiah Love here and say Alvin Kamara's gone. We need somebody to help our young quarterback. Let's give him a dominant ground game. I don't hate that. They have a number of really solid young options, but none of them are even close to Jeremiah Love. They're all complete RB2s and 3s. You know what? Screw it. Let's go Jeremiah Love. With this specific draft class, with how, weak it is on top end talent, Jeremiah Love is a top end talent that I think the Saints could definitely use. And I don't think this is an Ashley Genty situation where he's playing behind a shitty offensive line, no quarterback play, and a new head coach. You have your quarterback, you have your head coach, you have your 2 top tackles, improve the interior, and I think Jeremiah Love could be really good for New Orleans. Kansas City here at 9. I'm going to probably consider Caleb Downs. I don't know if they would take Caleb just because it's not a premium position, and I think their philosophy is going to continue to be to just build on those front guys, your defensive and offensive line. I think Spencer Fano is kind of my lean here. Play him immediately at right tackle. You'd have your 2 young tackles of your future. You could also kick him inside to play guard, depending on what injuries might happen, because they've been dealing with that throughout the past couple of years. I know pass rush is a big time need, but I just don't know if there's a guy here I'm taking at number 9. I know that Falk might make some sense, but he's not a proven pass rusher, and that's really what they need. They need a guy that can get after the quarterback. I like the idea of protecting Patrick Mahomes. Let's go Spencer Fano here to play right tackle for them, or guard, depending on what they need from him. All right, 10, we got the Bengals. I think this is a really good spot for Caleb Downs and Peter Woods. I think both these make a ton of sense. I think there's a good amount of depth here at interior defensive line, though, for Cincinnati, where at pick 41, if we can land a Christian Miller or if we can land a Lee Hunter, we'll feel in pretty good. It's very difficult to find a guy like a Caleb Downs with 3 years of this type of play. So let's take Caleb Downs. They could really use his game in the back of their defense. All right, Miami up at number 11. I don't hate the idea of Peter Woods. Pairing him up with Kenneth Grant, I think that checks out a little bit, but I don't think it's their biggest of needs. I like the idea of trying to figure out this secondary a little bit. You got a number of guys who, got the job done this year, but I do believe at some point you got to be serious about finding a true CB1. If Drummond's injuries do pan out. I mean, obviously he had a great year last year, but didn't play at all this year. If the injuries are okay, I think he could be the top corner off the board. But I'm a little cautious with the injury bug. So I'm going to go ahead and take Mansour Delane. Had a great year for LSU. Truly sticky on all sides. Can have some versatility as well to play inside and outside. Bit of an older prospect, would be 22. 6 foot, 190, a little bit light, but man, he's really sticky in coverage, so I like that pick there. All right, number 12, we got the Dallas Cowboys. I truly believe Dallas is going to prioritize corner, safety, and linebacker in this class. I think they're going to look at edge rusher maybe in the offseason, maybe a trade partner for a big name, because they have Donovan Ezaraku, you have Quinnen Williams. They've invested a lot in that defensive line, and Jadeveon Clowney looked really good for them. So I'm not going to take a pass rusher here. I'm going to probably take either Jermon McCoy or Sonny Styles, just because, again, I think they have to fix that back end of that defense, getting them some depth in the secondary, getting them a difference maker like Jermon McCoy if he's healthy. And then Sonny Styles, pair him up with DeMarvion Overshown. A lot of juice, a lot of speed, and a lot of length there. So that sounds really interesting. He's also such a sure tackler. This one's tough because I think linebacker is a pretty deep class this year where you can get a quality linebacker in. I know they only have their first 2 picks, but if you were to trade back or trade up in the second round or third round, I mean, all of these guys would be massive upgrades for this team. So that's tough. I mean, you only have these first 2 picks. You got to make them count. I think we can spend a top pick on Jermon McCoy here. And then at pick 20, we can maybe start having the conversation about CJ Allen and Anthony Hill. So let's go with Jermon McCoy here because I think he's probably the last potentially elite corner still available. I think there's a number of good corners available, but elite corner, Jermon has a bit of that difference maker. So sorry for going a little long there. 13, we got the Los Angeles Rams. I definitely think Peter Woods is in play. Give them a big physical dude up the middle. Not only they have a number of guys up there, Braden Fisk, Puna Ford, but Peter Woods gives you a bit more size. He also has versatility to play all across that defensive line, so that's interesting for sure. Sonny Styles, I think they could definitely use a difference-making, big, strong, physical, athletic linebacker. I like that a lot. Devontae Adams has a ton of injuries. You got to pair somebody up with Puka Nacua. I think Mekhi Lemon has Los Angeles Ram kind of written all over him. Other than that, I mean, corner obviously is a big-time need, but we just kind of swept up the corner board with the last 2 picks, so they have multiple picks here in this draft that they can spend on corner, so I'm not going to force a corner here. I like the idea of Styles and Woods. I think I initially is go with probably Sonny Styles. I think their defensive line is really sharp. Let's fix up the linebacking core, get some help in the secondary. I think that should be my focus here. Let's go with Sonny Styles for Los Angeles. All right, Baltimore's up at 14. I think receivers in play here. I don't love the idea of taking Mekhi Lemon just because they got to find height in their receiving core. Him and Zay Flowers, 2 dynamic weapons. Not a lot of height there, though. I don't hate the idea of taking Vivek Ione, just kicking him inside the guard, saying, hey, let's wipe our hands of Falele and let's just bring this guy in. He'll be much better. Peter Woods is also here, and there's a ton of questions with the interior defensive line. I think he's the best player available, not named Mekhi Lemon, so I'm going to go with Peter Woods right here. All right, 15, we got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Unfortunately, the board did not fall really good for them. They need a linebacker and a true pass rusher. But they could also use somebody with some versatility who's also decent against the run. I think that kind of lean with Keldrick Falk here. I just can't really see what else they would take in this position because you're not going to reach on CJ Allen or Anthony Hill at 15, especially when you have pick 46 where you can take a Josiah Trotter or somebody like that. I know some might say Kenyon Sadiq. I think they're fine at tight end, assuming they bring everyone back. I think I'm going to go with Keldrick Falk here. I think that's just probably the pick they would do here. Gives them good size. He has a ton of upside as a pass rusher, but immediately will be really good against the run. All the physical tools. It's not necessarily like Michael Williams. I think he is a lot better than Michael, but it's kind of a similar conversation we had with Michael. Keldrick actually has upside to be a decent pass rusher. All right, Jets up at 16, and you got your linebacker in Arvell Reese. With how many needs they have, just continue to go best player available. Let's go Mekhi Lemon to honestly kind of, I don't want to say finish up that offense, but finish up a big chunk of that offense. You probably need a guard, depending on what you do with Elijah Vera Tucker. And then, of course, you need your quarterback, and you'll probably do that next year. Or you'll make a move for like a Mac Jones, Malik Willis, or somebody like that. All right, 17, we got the Detroit Lions. The Lions are a tough team to kind of go with here because they have a number of free agents they have to figure out. I think Cassius Howell checks out a little bit. I don't know if this is a Lions type of guy, just because I think the Lions are a team that would like to see a bit more length to them. It's really hard to predict what the Lions would do here, just because you just never know. With all the interior defensive line movement they're going to have this offseason, I do think Banks and McDonald check out a ton here. Offensive line is a need. But the only one I would consider here would be Caleb Lomu, because he's a true left tackle with a ton of upside. You pair him with Penei Sewell, especially because Decker sounds like he's going to retire. I'll tell you what, this pick comes down between Lomu and McDonald. And I think I'm going to go with Lomu here because McDonald, Tyreek Williams went last year. Sure, you can have the two Ohio State boys up the middle just wrecking havoc, but I think they're fine there. Tyreek was going to step up. You bring back Roy Lopez. You have Mekhi Wingo. I think we're okay there. Maybe you bring in a vet like a Calais Campbell. That checks out. I think you got to continue to build this offensive line, build towards the future. Let's go Caleb Lomu here. I don't think I've done this in a draft, so let's take Caleb Lomu and have him play opposite of Penei Sewell. All right, 18, we got the Minnesota Vikings. This is a really tough team to kind of gauge what they're going to do here. I think secondary is totally in play. I think Colton Hood definitely does check out in my book. Avion Terrell, I don't think he gives them the size. And by the way, we don't know who the defensive coordinator is going to be for this team next year. Maybe it is Flores, but maybe it won't be. I think they need to get a bit more younger and better in the interior of the defensive line. I think Caden McDonald gives them a big, stout dude up the middle with a decent bit of upside to get you a few sacks a season. So let's take Caden McDonald to give them a bit more youth up the middle of their defensive line. All right, Carolina's up at pick 19. I would have loved to have taken Mekhi Lemon here, but I think I could wait till round 2 and take like an Omar Cooper or Jeremy Bernard. These guys are exactly what this team could use. I think linebacker checks out a ton here with a TJ Allen, but I think I'm going to go with TJ Parker here. He's gotten a lot of crap this year. I think he's played a lot worse this year than what he did last year, but I still think he's a really, really good player. Can get after the quarterback, is good against the run. I think he would give them somebody that they just don't have right now. I mean, you have Nick Scorton. You pair up Nick Scorton with TJ Parker. I like the idea of that. All right, Dallas is up at 20. They already took Jermon McCoy. We talked about taking a linebacker here, and that is exactly what I'm going to do. Now, I will say this. If I am Dallas, I am fielding calls from all types of teams down here to see if we can maybe add a 3rd-round pick by moving down and then taking one of these linebackers and feeling good. But if there is no trade partners available, you just got to, sit and take your pick and then, sleep during day 2, unfortunately. I could take Cassius Howell. I think he checks out a little bit because they definitely could use some juice off the edge, but he is, you have to look away from some of the major flaws to this guy's game. Shorter arms, and some of his worst tape is against the best tackles he's gone up against, and I think that's a massive red flag. But man, he has a lot of good things going for him, though. A lot of good things. I don't like his footwork, but man, he's got a number of tools to get after the quarterback. But I'm going to go with CJ Allen here. He is somebody that Dallas needs, a true leader for the defense, somebody with a good bit of size to him, excellent downhill as a run defender. Can improve in coverage, but I think CJ Allen fits what Dallas needs. So I'm going to go CJ Allen for the Dallas Cowboys. All right, Pittsburgh's up at 21. New head coach Mike Tomlin is gone, so they are going to be looking for somebody new. I don't know what the tea leaves are saying. I have no clue who they'll look at, but yeah, they got some work to do for sure. I feel like the question is, do I take Ty Simpson here and then build around him, or do they just go with Will Howard for a year and try that experience out and maybe just get better in the receiving core? Honestly, I think that's what I'm going to go ahead and do here. I think I'm going to let Will Howard be the guy, and I'm going to try to make this team better heading into next season by taking either a tackle or a receiver here. And with the way the board fell, I'm going to go ahead and take a receiver, and I'm going to take Casey Concepcion. I think him next to DK Metcalf gives him a lot of juice, some different body types, some different playmakers. Let's go KC for the Steelers. And you know what? They have another pick down the board, I do believe. So we'll see if maybe we can talk about Pittsburgh taking a quarterback here at like 53. And I think they have 2 third-round picks or maybe 3 third-round picks too. So they can move up in rounds 2 to take a Ty Simpson, or they could trade into the back end of round 1 realistically and take Ty Simpson if things go their way. So keep an eye on that. I think Pittsburgh has enough draft capital to move around a little bit here. All right, 22, we got the Chargers. I'm going to make this one quick. Vivek Ione fills in perfectly at guard. You have your tackles. You need to draft a center. Give Justin Herbert as much help on that offensive line. All right, 23, we got Philadelphia. A number of ways I could go. I like, honestly, Cassius Howell here. I like Avion Terrell. Depending on what happens with A.J. Brown, I think that is totally possible. He's looking for a new team. I think Denzel Boston checks out. Kenyon Sadiq, if you do move on from Dallas Goedert, I think that makes some sense. All 4 of these picks, I think all check out completely. I'm going to make the assumption that A.J. Brown is on the team and they re-signed Dallas Goedert because I think that would be wise for them to do so. Just bring in a new offensive coordinator who knows how to use A.J. Brown properly. Let's go Cassius Howell here to give them some extra juice off the edge, especially if they don't bring back Jalen Phillips. But even if they do bring back Jalen, I think getting another guy would make a ton of sense. All right, 24, we got the Browns. Again, another team here that might be looking for a new head coach. I don't love the way the offensive line board fell for them. I mean, Caden Proctor's probably the guy I'll take right here, but I'm sorry, I have a bit of a tough time swallowing this pill. Is it crazy to just go with Ty Simpson here? It feels like a new head coach is going to want to have his guy at quarterback, because in your first year, I don't think you want to roll out there with Shedeur Sanders and Dylan Gabriel as your 1 and 2. I think I might go Ty Simpson here. I got to be honest with you. I think I might go Ty. I think that Ty Simpson is getting a lot of disrespect. But at the same time, boy, putting him behind that offensive line and that receiving core, yeah, you're right. Never mind. Never mind. Can't do that. Sorry, I thought about the Ty Simpson thing there. Got to get better on the offensive line. I guess we'll take Caden Proctor. Can play guard, can play tackle, wherever they might see him fitting in there. But a really talented player, so we'll take Caden Proctor there. All right, Chicago's up at 25. They could use some pass rush help. They can use some guys on the defensive interior. I like the idea of Akeem Mesidor here. I really do. He is an older player, going to be 25 when drafted. But let's be honest, Chicago's trying to win now. They're not a rebuilding team anymore. And if Akeem Mesidor was a 21-year-old prospect, I do believe he'd be a first-round lock with the year he's having this year. Now, that's not to say that he has everything going for him by any means. That he has some issues to his game, mainly the fact that he is an older prospect. But the tape he's putting on this year is really sharp. He has a number of pass rush moves. He's really stout against the run. Really good size to him, 6'3", 280. You pair him up with Montez, all right now. We'll see how it all plays out. Let's take Akeem Mesidor to the Chicago Bears. 26, we got the Buffalo Bills. Easiest pick here, Denzel Boston. Bye-bye, Keon Coleman. Welcome in, Denzel. San Francisco's up at 27. With George Kittle tearing his Achilles, I think they have a need at tight end, and Kenyon Sadiq is the best, I guess, honestly, receiver / tight end available here. Let's go Kenyon Sadiq. I mean, he's kind of a pseudo receiver as it is, but with Kittle probably missing the entirety of next year, I know they have some depth in that room, but they don't have a difference maker like a George Kittle. Sadiq could fill his role a little bit, and we'll kind of wait and see what the future of George Kittle is with San Francisco. It's so unfortunate that the Achilles injury happened this late in the season, because he's probably going to miss all the next year. So let's take Kenyon Sadiq here as a bit of a security for George Kittle. And honestly, he kind of feels a bit of a need here at wide receiver too, because he's just that special of an athlete. All right, Houston's up at number 28. The board really did not feel great for the offensive line here. I think honestly they have multiple second-round picks. I'm going to wait on offensive line here. I know that sounds a little risky, but I might be able to take Emmanuel Pregnon at 38 and Connor Lew at 59, and I think we'll feel pretty good about that. Let's get a bit more beef up the middle of the defensive line and maybe a little bit more talent there. Caleb Banks, somebody who dealt with an injury this year and doesn't have a ton of reps under his belt, but man, if he can put it all together, he is going to be a force up the middle. It's just a shame he wasn't able to do it this year because he had injuries. But yeah, he has a ton of upside, and he's already shown a lot in the reps he has shown. I'm really excited to see him at the Senior Bowl because I believe Caleb Banks will be there. All right, 29, we got Los Angeles. We took Sonny Styles earlier, and I mean, Avion Terrell is right here. I know he didn't have the best year for Clemson, but I mean, he is kind of a topper-end talent in this year's class. I don't hate the idea of him. He is just so short, though. And they already have a number of smaller corners. They could really use some athleticism. Man, if you're looking for a bit more size and athleticism, I think Cisse could definitely be an option here. Colton Hood, 6 foot 195. Let's go Colton Hood. I like Colton Hood a little bit more than Cisse. Let's go Colton Hood. All right, Patriots here at 30. Let's look at offensive line here, because I think protecting Drake May is a massive thing they need to do. And I think I'm going to take Emmanuel Pregnon. I'm going to play Pregnon at left guard. I'm going to move Jared Wilson to center, and that's going to be our young offensive line on the left side. Let's go Emmanuel Pregnon here for the Patriots. 31, we got the Broncos. I'm not going to do running back here. I think they're feeling okay about it. I will say, I think tight end is a bit more in play here, but I think if you get Andrews or Claire or Stowers at 63, you're probably okay with that. So let's get off of that idea here. If they move off of McMillan, I think Terrell makes some sense, because you do have Jade, and Jade can play inside or outside. And then you have Terrell, who could be an upgrade over Riley Moss. And if you trust Jade on the outside, you can kick Avion inside, or Jade inside, Avion outside. I think I might do that here. I mean, it's either that or I'm going to go with a linebacker here, like a Anthony Hill. But I think they're okay there. Bring back your guys. You have so much talent there. Let's go Avion Terrell here. Haven't done that for the Broncos. All right, 32, we got Seattle. And I am going to go with corner. And you know what? I'm going to go back to South Carolina. It worked with them at Nicky Monwari. I like the idea of taking Brandon Cisse here, developing him for a year, let him sit maybe, or even start him, and see if you can get some good play out of them. All right, guys, really quickly, I'm going to speed through round 2 so I don't take too much more of your time. But if you guys do enjoy draft content, I have an NFL draft / offseason podcast called First and 10. Link in the description. I think you guys would enjoy it. It has a former NFL player and another NFL YouTuber on there, so check it out. Let's get back to the second round. All right, so as promised, let's speed things up here. 33, we got the New York Jets, Reese and Mekhi Lemon. I mean, I said I was going to be faster here. Let's take Ty Simpson. Let's take Ty Simpson here. At 33, the Jets take Ty Simpson. Realistically, they might have to trade into the first round, so you do get that 5th-year option, but no trades here. Let's take Ty Simpson to the Jets. All right, 34, we got Arizona. They took David Bailey. Let's look at upgrading the offensive line here, and I am going to go. I don't hate Monroe Freeling here. I don't hate him at all. I think it all depends on who they hire at head coach, but I think I'm going to go with Jennings Dunker. I love the physicality he brings, and if he can't play tackle, you let him play guard. Let's take Jennings Dunker here. All right, 35, we got the Tennessee Titans who took Jordan Tyson. Let us look at finding maybe a piece off the edge. Ooh, R. Mason Thomas, give you a bit more juice. Joshua Josephs, this is really one of my guys. I think Joshua Josephs has a ton of upside. Romello Heights got pushed down the board a little bit by PFF, and I don't blame him. He is super light and really easy to move in the run game, but man, he is aggressive as hell as a pass rusher. And I just don't love a lot of these options here. I got to be honest with you. Let's look at corner. I think they could use a stud at corner. Let's go Keith Abney. Yeah, Keith Abney, I think, is a really solid, potentially first-round pick. Let's take him for the Titans there. All right, 36, we got the Raiders who took Fernando Mendoza. I mean, Elijah Surratt, just keep the Indiana boys together. I think that's not a bad idea. I also think offensive line, obviously, is a massive positional need. They can kind of go with anything here. Let's just go best player available, and I think Elijah Surratt is the best player available. Let's keep those Indiana boys better. Let's rebuild the culture around Indiana. While we're at it, Kurt Cignetti, come on down. All right, 37, we got the Giants. They took Francis Mauigoa. I think now is a great time to take a wide receiver. And, ooh, Chris Bell. I know he just tore his ACL, but, man, he could be a difference maker. You pair him up with Malik Neighbors. I think, boy, that would make that offense so much fun. Let's take Chris Bell here. Why not? All right, 38, we got the Texans. Earlier, we took Caleb Banks, and I said the offensive line would be a position we're going to address, and address we will do. Unfortunately, Emmanuel Pregnon went a few picks after them, but I'm not tripping here. We'll take, I think, we could go Monroe and see if he can kick inside to play guard, or maybe just play him at tackle and move the offensive line around a little bit. Caleb Tiernan is definitely more of a true guard if you really want him to play guard. Or Connor Lew, just let him play center. Had an injury this year, but he's really solid. Options. Let's go with Connor Lew here. I think there's some tackle options down the board we could look at with their next second-round pick. All right, Cleveland's up at 39. They took Carnell Tate. They took Caden Proctor. Let's go Monroe Freeling here. Let him play tackle for them. All right, Kansas City's up at 40. They took Spencer Fano. Let's try to find a difference maker. And, oh, yeah, R. Mason Thomas on this defensive line. Absolutely. Let's run that in. All right, Bengals up at 41. They took Caleb Downs. Ooh, Kristen Miller up the middle. I like that. Kristen Miller, you are a Bengal. 42, we got the Saints who took Jeremiah Love round 1. Interesting pick there. Let's look at the receiving core and see if there's somebody with some size, not necessarily Jeremy Bernard. He is 6'1", but I think he's more of a slot guy. Omar Cooper, 6 foot 204, another kind of slot hybrid, I guess. Jacoby Lane is very big, but I'm not taking him here at 42. Man, Anthony Hill, pairing him up with, we'll see what ends up happening with Demario Davis. He is older at this stage, so maybe you can find an upgrade there. But Anthony Hill, Danny Stutzman, Red River, and Jalen Ford, by the way, and then pair him up with Pete Werner. I don't hate that necessarily. Let's go Anthony Hill for the New Orleans Saints. Haven't done that before. All right, 43, we got the Miami Dolphins, and I'm going to do something that I haven't done yet. I think they need a tight end. Receiving threat like Eli Stowers. And he's not much of a blocker, but he is much more of a receiving threat, and which they do need that. So let's go Eli Stowers. He's like a discount Colston Loveland, and we've seen what Colston Loveland has done for Chicago, so I think Miami would like that pick. All right, Jets up at 44. They got Arvell, they got Mackay, and they have their quarterback in Ty Simpson. That offense should actually be not too bad next year, especially if they shore up the interior offensive line. But Wilson, Taylor, Lemon, maybe Brees, and Ty. Okay, let's see how that works out for them. Let's look at upgrading the secondary here. I think that's a big need. Chris Johnson. Oh, yeah. He is a little undersized, 6 foot. They say 195. I think he's probably more like 185. But I think he's stout against the end zone coverage. I even think he's really solid in man coverage, too. I think in a system like the Jets have, I think Chris Johnson could thrive. All right, Baltimore receiver at 45. We took Peter Woods. Again, I would like to take a receiver here, but there's nobody really worth taking here that has a size I'm looking for. Maybe CJ Daniels, but feels a bit early for him, I got to be honest with you. Maybe Chris Brazel. I mean, he is big, 6'5", 200 with some serious juice. I just feel like he's not a difference maker for this team. We took Peter Woods. Look at interior offensive line. Let's go Caleb Tiernan. Yeah, let's take Caleb Tiernan. He's not good enough to play at tackle, right? Has arm length issues, I should say. Reaches a lot, but if you play him at guard, I think he could be pretty solid. I think he's kind of a penciled in guard at the NFL level. So let's take Caleb Tiernan here. 46, we got the Bucks who took Keldrick Falk. Let's look at linebacker here. I think that's probably their biggest of needs. And a lot of great names here. I love Jake Golday. I think he's a little raw in coverage, but in terms of getting downhill and being a thumper, big size to him, 6'4", 240, and is definitely going to improve as a coverage player. Let's take Jake Golday here for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. All right, the Colts' first pick is now in, 47. Boy, where do you go with this one? Do you go with like an AJ Halsey? Just give that secondary some life? Do you take a Trinidad Chambliss here? I think they're going to bring in a vet. Unfortunately, another year with a vet. I don't know if you're Steichen, you bank your future on Trinidad. I mean, you might. You could. Man, I don't know what you do if you're the Colts, man. I feel so bad for them, dude. I think I'm going to go Trinidad. I'm going to go Trinidad. Let's go Trinidad Chambliss here. We'll see if that works out for him. I'm kind of laughing because I truly don't know what to do there at 47 for the Colts. Yeah, you could go D-line, linebacker, safety. Those are definite needs, but I mean, what do you do at quarterback? That's their biggest of issues. All right, 48, we got Atlanta. It sounds like Clint Kubiak might be the Falcons' next head coach, which, by the way, that would be great for that offense. Drake London, Bijan, you bring back Kyle Pitts. Oh, yeah, they would be unlocked over there. They need another weapon, though. I'm going to go Jeremy Bernard. Definitely more of a slot guy, but you put him with Drake London, reliable target here. Let's take him there. All right, 49, we got the Minnesota Vikings. We added some beef up the middle with Caden McDonald. I say we add a running back here, and I'm going to go with Jadarian Price. Has legitimate home run speed. He's built like a freaking tank. Good in gap, good in zone. Also can be good as a returner as well. I like the idea of Jadarian Price there. All right, Lions up next at 50. They took Caleb Lomu, and I'm looking honestly now at either corner, which Keontae Scott, man, he is Detroit Lions coded all over him. He's a true nickel. I mean, you're going to play him inside the slot, which, I mean, Amik Robertson was really bad for this year, and he's a free agent. I think Keontae Scott could be the pick here for sure. Gabe Yakis, big dude with some decent productivity this year as a pass rusher. We could go Zion Young. Let's go with Keontae Scott. He is Detroit Lions coded for sure. 51, we got the Panthers. They took TJ Parker already, and Omar Cooper makes so much sense here, but they need a linebacker, dude. And there's so many good linebackers still available here. Man, this one freaking sucks. I mean, maybe they can wait till round 3 to take a receiver. Let's take a linebacker here. I think Deontay Lawson and Josiah Trotter are both good. I'm going to go Josiah Trotter because he's more of my guy. All right, Green Bay's up at 52. A lot of big-time decisions they're going to have to make this offseason. So this team needs section here, I feel like, is only going to expand because they have, again, a lot of things they have to figure out. I think corner is a massive need for this team, but I don't love the way the board fell. I could consider Manny Muhammad here. I think he's a really good player. I think he's a little bit underrated here on PFF's big board. In fact, I think he's massively underrated. I do think he's a second-round talent, but, I mean, maybe I'm just biased. I'm sorry. Rashawn Gary's going to be off this team next year, so you're going to have to find somebody to pair up next to him, and you have Quay Walker, who might be gone too, which that would suck. Let's go Romello Height. Pair him up with Micah Parsons. Just make a nasty duo off the edge. 53, we got the Steelers who took Casey Concepcion. No quarterback available here, which is fine. We kind of thought that was going to happen. Let's improve this team in general here. Let's take a tackle. I don't love the options here, but I'll take Blake Miller here. Got to get better in the tackles. I apologize if I'm going short on the explanations. My throat, it's not built for this. Philadelphia, pause, by the way, pause. Philadelphia up at 54. They took Cassius Howell. Let's look on the offensive line here. I'm not, there's a number of guys you can take a little bit later and kick inside to play guard. And I feel like they have a number of bodies there they could work with. Maybe you go safety if you end up losing Blankenship. And I mean, Sydney's there. Maybe tight end. If you don't bring back Dallas Goedert, you're going to need a tight end. Let's just say they don't bring back Dallas Goedert for whatever reason. Let's take Max Clare. Why not? 55, we got the Chargers. They have Vivek Ione already in the folds. And I mean, do you not just go back to the well here and take a center in like Jake Slaughter and just say, we're not going to let 2025 happen again on this offensive line? Totally an option here, but I think they might address that in free agency. They have a decent bit of cash. Let's look at having some offensive line help here, or some defensive line help, sorry. I think that, let's go Zion Young. I think he's kind of their guy. All right, 56, we have the Jaguars here. Let's go AJ Halsey for them. Chicago's up at 57. They took Akeem Mesidor. Love that for them. They have some linebacker questions, especially contract-wise. Let's go Deontay Lawson. San Francisco up at 58. They took Kenyon Sadiq. Let's look at adding some juice off the edge here. Joshua Josephs, he should have went a lot earlier, but yeah, good pick here. He could fall to 58. Excellent pass rusher with good arm length. Right now, figuring it out. He needs a bit more time, but he could be an instant DPR for that team. Houston at 58. We took Caleb Banks. We took Connor Lew. Let's go back to the well of offensive line real quick. Yikes. Let's take a running back. Let's pivot here. Ooh, Jonah Coleman. Yeah, easy pick. Definitely their sort of style guy. 5'9", 228. Bowling ball. Pair him up with Woody Marks. I like that. 60, got Buffalo. They took Denzel Boston earlier. I'd like to get better against the run. Unfortunately, Gabe Yakis not really built for that. Ooh, LT Overton. Oh, yeah. He has Buffalo written all over him. LA, Colton Hood, Anthony Styles. I like that draft for them. Let's go Lee Hunter. Give them again, we talked a bit earlier about it, but real size, 6'4", 330, having a really good year for the Texas Tech. What are they? What are the Texas Tech? I'm blanking. I know they have the guns. The Bandits? I'm sorry, Texas Tech fans. Let me know in the comments below. New England up at 62. Emmanuel Pregnon. Let's look at linebacker here. Let's see if the board is kind of thinned out. It really has. Torian York would be great, but golly, he's like 5'9". Oof. Man, Torian York, I feel bad for the guy. Maybe an edge rusher. Gabe Yakis he's got New England written on him. Let's go Gabe. 63, we got the Denver Broncos, who took Avion Terrell. Let's look at a tight end. Okay, yeah, let's do Jack Andrews. I'm fine with that. Number of tight ends went on this in the second round here. And Cisse went to Seahawks last. Let's take an offensive guard here, if there is one. Hey, let's take Jake Slaughter. Yeah, why not? We'll take Jake Slaughter. But this is the first round of this mock draft. And if you're interested in the second round, I'll do a quick little scroll down. This is the first round. And here we got the second round. Ty Simpson going 33. New York has a new quarterback, Eli Stowers to the Miami Dolphins. I like that. Trotter to the Panthers. Max Clare to the Philadelphia Eagles, and Jack Andrews, Denver. Okay, yeah. But guys, let me know in the comment section below, what is your thoughts on this PFF mock draft? Hit the like and subscribe button if you guys did enjoy the video, and let me know what you agree with and disagree with. Salute. Love you guys. Peace.